Welcome to another edition of The Digital Strategist. I'm David Muhammad, and I'm your host. I've got a very exciting guest with me here tonight. His name is Patrick Sutherland. Patrick is the CEO, president, founder, and executive creative director. Is that what ECD means?
Sure.
Okay, all right. Of a cool startup called Direct Ignition.
Yeah.
And they've got a really cool product that's coming to market called Viduvi. Viduvi is a localized search product. Is
Yes,
video,
yes, video-based
rich
search. Yeah.
search product, which is like a lot of very important trends kind of converging within that product. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Before we jump in too deep, I'd like to learn a little bit more about Patrick, how you got to this point, what your educational background is, what were some of the great stops along the way agency-wise? Did you come up in an agency or in an interactive environment and all that good stuff? So kind of walk us through the Reader's Digest version of sort of how you got here.
All right. Okay, so education-wise, I kind of knew what I wanted to do from a pretty early start. I was lucky in that sense. A lot of people kind of are not, but I knew I wanted to do something in the creative field. I went to Boston University.
Oh, nice.
For 2 years. I studied fine arts and design. Quickly found that at the college level, the art talent is it's like playing college ball. It's a whole nother level.
Goes up a notch.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was kind of good at that level.
Oh yeah. So I kind of realized, which almost confirmed what I had already decided on, was I wanted to go more into applied arts, advertising, design, that kind of stuff, which really I felt was more of a fit for me. So following that path, I transferred to the School of Visual Arts in
SVA,
Manhattan.
right in New York City.
Yes.
Sure.
Which is, again, more of an applied arts school. They do have fine arts there also, but much more investment into the applied art area. And I loved it. I went there, finished up there, and just had great teachers. They have a great structure there where the teachers are all working professionals.
Nice.
So you have that connection to the real world and what's going
It's always
on today.
important.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. And then
So SVA, you went into the agency world, I guess? Or?
Yes. I started at a little boutique agency called DeVito Verdi.
Okay.
That is now actually quite a bit bigger.
Okay.
But I was there for quite a while. Then I went to another agency called Grace and Rothschild, which was one of those classic Madison Avenue. It wasn't on Madison Avenue, but one of those classic shops where we worked on Land Rover and Mobil Oil.
Sort of Mad Men type environment.
Yeah, but smaller. It was still a boutique type place.
Same sort of culture, though.
Yeah.
Classic
yeah.
New York City, Madison Avenue style
Yeah.
agency,
Yeah.
Big broadcast, big print type
Yes,
situation.
yes. But also very well run from a structural standpoint. Probably one of the best places I've been to in terms of just ran like a Swiss clock. It was great.
Great operations.
Yes. And then I kind of went on the freelance circuit. I just started having a lot of fun bouncing around. And in there also...
So were you doing like a lot of creative strategy work as a freelancer, or...?
Yes. I got more and more into that. And I think that's a natural progression. You kind of start task-oriented. They got to tell you, okay, this is your project, this is your little bit to do.
You're on the Ford broadcast account.
And then you gradually kind of start to work, and you also develop those skills of really thinking strategically. And I got more and more into that, of writing brand strategies and that kind of stuff. And then in there, I also started teaching. I went back and taught at the School of Visual Arts.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Nice.
So that was a
Nice.
lot of
like
fun.
an adjunct professor type?
Yeah, they call them instructors.
Okay.
So I taught there for 5 years.
What'd you teach at SVA?
Advertising, and I taught 2 classes. One was more executional, and one was more in the higher level strategy area.
Very nice.
Where we did executions also, but we kind of took a 2-step approach to things, where we worked with the students from, okay, you come up with a strategy, and then all kind of worked on finessing that, and then the second leg would be executing it.
So from an advertising perspective, I mean, you've kind of seen the full gamut. You came up through the ranks in the agency ranks. First of all, you went to Boston University to get your BFA. I didn't. Initially, that's what you were going for, right? The BFA.
But then
then you went to SVA and got the applied arts piece, and then you went into the agency route, which a lot of folks do, and then you went and taught back at SVA. So you've seen sort of the whole 360 of the ad space. What do you like more, hands-on in the agency side, or the SVA, the teaching piece?
I love the teaching. It's too time consuming at this point. I mean, kids and work, and I miss it terribly. But I tried it also. I was an adjunct professor at Keene University
Nice.
also. A little closer to home.
Sure.
But still just did not have the time to really pursue it as much as I'd like to. But it's always, I mean, you always kind of carry that, when you have that bug, when you work with younger people, you always see it as that kind of an opportunity to teach and also to learn. I mean, whenever you teach, you learn.
Well, you can't be a good teiter if you're not a good student.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, you have to still kind of be that sponge as you're still absorbing stuff. So, how did you kind of get into this entrepreneurial space?
Just kind of, I don't know. It's like a switch flipped.
Okay. So did you come from entrepreneurs, or was it in your DNA?
I mean, it's funny. My mom cracks up because my dad was pretty much exactly my age when he started his company. He started a packaging company in the '60s
Nice.
that did very, very well. And I mean, for a guy coming up from the streets of Brooklyn.
A Brooklyn boy makes good.
Yep.
What kind of packaging?
Shippers, basically brown box to end of aisle displays that you see in the big.
So actually creating those
supermarkets.
containers and
Yes.
things of that nature.
Yep.
Point of purchase pieces and things of that nature. Wow, good business.
But again, I didn't realize it, but when I was 41 when I kind of started off on my own, really doing my own thing. And, first time my mom said, she just started laughing. She was like, that's exactly the age your father was when.
So it's like a time release capsule within the Sutherlands. The Sutherland men, that is. Get to your early 40s and you start saying, hey, I can do this better than these guys a little bit, and let me try to put my shingle up there and kind of see what's going on.
Yeah.
Very exciting, very exciting. So how I met you is that I was looking for a video solutions provider when I was kind of first starting out Madison David Digital. And I was just taken aback with your, I don't want to get too warm and fuzzy, but your depth of passion, how you kind of saw beyond the nuts and bolts in campaigns. And as I was really kind of formulating the ideas of what the Madison David Digital brand messaging was going to be, you remember we kind of having some of those discussions?
Yep.
And you were, and I can be very spirited, and you were such a good listener. And a lot of the things that you said during some of those exchanges, I'm still kind of running on those today. I didn't pay you for those, but I'm kind of giving you your props now is what I'm kind of getting to. So the bigger question is, what do you kind of attribute that to? Because I've been working in advertising for a while too, and I know there are a lot of models, processes, methodologies, and algorithms that we can put into place to get outcomes, right?
Yep.
But as well, there's the gut feeling. There's the stuff that kind of comes from the gut.
Yep.
And I know you know a lot about methodology, process, algorithm, and all that good stuff. But I also get the feeling that a lot of your work, a lot of your great work kind of comes from this sort of internal sort of space. Is that off or on?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely on. That's what I used to tell my students was a lot of creative work is a little like being an actor. You kind of lose yourself a little bit. You got to you can't go into a project saying, I know the solution until you really listen and absorb. Because that, and as you get older, as you become a business owner, you realize even more that business person you're dealing with, that's their blood and sweat. They spent how many years creating that business, and you don't want to mess it up, and you have to listen to them and learn from them, the trials that they've gone through, to build that business. And their insights 9 times out of 10 are going to give you kind of the meat that you need to develop that brand. And then it's a matter of, okay, let's take that and put our spin on it. But it has to go in that order. You have to take their lead and then bring it someplace, as opposed to inserting your personality, blindly.
So there's this thing that a lot of folks probably never heard of. It's called listening, I guess. Yeah, probably the greatest skill that comes up with marketers, advertisers, and tech entrepreneurs, which is what you are now. You've evolved into a fully blown tech entrepreneur. And you have to listen to the market to really kind of find out what their needs are to sort of intimate the proper technology solutions that make sense within their lifestyles. So you go from advertiser, professor, to tech entrepreneur. So talk about how you kind of got into this idea of Viduvy and so sort of video on demand sort of piece where you are now?
Well, I had
We're going to tease everybody a little bit now, but yeah.
Yeah, I went in a couple of different directions. I first started with an agency model that I was going to make more efficient. So I was going to try and reinvent more of a Madison Avenue agency.
Is that direct ignition?
Yes, direct ignition.
So talk about that before Viduvy, yeah, sure.
So that was, you know, my goal was to find efficiencies and maybe bring production in-house, take advantage of the economies and the new technology with DSLRs and how much you can do. You know, you don't have to go out and spend $150,000 on a commercial anymore, you know, which a lot of clients realize now, but 3 years ago, the agencies were saying, no.
Don't say that. Yeah. Keep that to yourself, sure.
So,
because that's where they're making all the money on broadcast.
Yep. But I had an interesting conversation with a very good friend of ours, was over from Silicon Valley, staying at the house. He's a VC entrepreneur guy. And I was kind of just having a conversation with him Sunday morning, you know, about what I was planning.
Sort of kicking it around a little bit.
Yeah, and he had this look of disdain on his face, you know. And, it was very funny.
So this is a big money guy from Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
And I was like, what's wrong? He was like, why would you want to open an ad agency? I was like, what do you mean? I said, that model's dead. And it was real. It just stunned me. You know, it's like I kind of knew it was, you know, had issues, but to have somebody, you know, who I consider very, very smart, just say it so point blank, I was like, whoa! It kind of put me back on my heels. And he gave me one piece of advice. He gave more than one, but one that stuck with me especially was, and I think this is the classic VC perspective on things, which is very interesting. He said, if you can come up with a product that is comparable to what an ad agency can do for 10% of the price, you're golden. You're done. You got yourself something. So that really made
that was
me
a nugget.
think.
That was an insight he gave
Yeah.
you. That was a real nugget, a light bulb moment for sure.
Yeah. So that really kind of set me back to the blackboard.
Sure.
And
In a good way, though.
Oh, in a great way.
In a
I mean, it
good way.
really turned my world upside down and made me question all the assumptions I had made. And instead of trying to make an incremental improvement, just blow the whole thing
Yeah, you
up
went for
and
wholesale
start
change.
all over
Sure,
again.
sure.
So that really was kind of the inspiration for that.
So, very good. What we're going to do in our second segment is we're going to take a deeper dive into Direct Ignition a little bit more. I want to learn a little bit more about the suite of capabilities at Direct Ignition LLC. And then more pointedly, I really want to get into the mind of Pat Sutherland around Viduvy, I think which is a really, truly breakthrough product. And I'm glad to have it here first on our little humble show, The Digital Strategist. But we're going to talk about your local video search product, which I think is going to kind of turn things around for a lot of mom and pop shops on Main Street. And so with that, we're going to be back in 2 minutes with the second segment of The Digital Strategist with my guest, Patrick Sutherland, the founder of Direct Ignition. I'm David Muhammad, and we'll be right back. Thanks.
After 17 years working as a mason, Mike was laid off. I met him when he came into the library looking for help. He found a job opening, but the application was only online. Mike said he'd spent his entire life around tools, but had never used a computer. I showed him how, and he ended up applying for numerous jobs online. I saw Mike the other day. His new computer skills paid off. He's working again.
New Jersey libraries are transforming lives. Tell us your story.
Welcome back to The Digital Strategist. You know me, I'm David Muhammad. I'm your host. I've got a great guest with me tonight, Patrick Sutherland, the CEO and founder of Direct Ignition. And they've got a great product that they're bringing to market called Viduvy. So Patrick, talk to me a little bit about the suite of capabilities at Direct Ignition. What do you guys really do over there? I mean, you talked about reinventing the agency model.
Yep.
But how do you do that?
Well, Direct Ignition is it has a little more of the strategy end of it. You know, where we kind of match our offerings to the clientele and the level that they're looking for. You know, a lot of clients that we deal with are startups.
Oh, really?
Because they obviously cannot go to the
Saatchi
Madison
and
Avenue.
Saatchi, sure.
They
Right.
don't have a check to
Right.
write. But you know what? I mean, we can do something very efficient for them to give them a good foundation, a good structure for their brand.
A lot of tech startups or startups in general?
I've done some tech. I've done some actually nutraceuticals, health related, and that's fun stuff. It is kind of interesting. I love that field.
Well, you
and,
learn a lot in that field.
Yeah, the kind of holistic and natural,
So are you a tree hugger by trade?
No, actually not. But I am fascinated by just kind of natural solutions.
Yeah, me too, sure.
I think knowing, having been through, the big agency world and dealing with big clients, you start to understand that, there's some great stuff that comes out of big companies, but there's some stuff that's kind of built for profit more than solving a problem,
Obviously.
or as much as solving a problem.
Shareholder equity, I think, is what they call it. At
Yes.
the big.
Yes. And they have their fiduciary duty to worry about, and I understand that.
Coming from downstairs.
Yep. But I do understand that there are some natural solutions to things that might not be as profitable. So there's no real profit incentive, for a large company to embrace a natural solution that can't be patented. It just doesn't work out in their mathematics.
That's a very good insight.
Yeah.
That's a good insight.
So I've kind of run the gamut of doing branding, and then we also do just kind of video products for smaller companies when they don't have the funds to really.
What type of video products?
We can do anything from kind of digital press release, or electronic press release type stuff,
Nice.
that kind of footage, and also the some of the writing to go with it.
Video mission statement type deals?
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
About us videos?
Yes. And as you know, that's huge for SEO. And
Multimedia indexing at search engines?
Yes. And what I also really try to push is that a lot of clients come to us and they say, yeah, we want video content or we want content for our website, which is great. And you want your website to be as rich as possible. But I really try to educate clients about getting the content into the search process. Because the way I see it, the way I say it, is that when you wait for somebody to get to your website, it's a little bit like waiting for somebody to get into your front door. Once they get in your front door, they have pretty much have made up their mind.
Yeah, it's a done deal already. You're
at
not
least
helping yourself.
You're at least in the top three.
Right. Very
so,
good point.
Yeah, so I really try and encourage clients to think a little bit differently about that. And yes, it can be there, but really the main focus should be trying to pull that content into the search process. And there's no reason not to.
Pull the content into the search process.
Yeah.
I love that term.
But there's no reason not to. I mean, YouTube, free. Google, free.
Free.
I mean,
Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. So what is the barrier? It's more of a barrier of mindset that people just haven't. They're a little bit intimidated by it.
Sure.
It's kind of it's a new thing, and there are quite a few moving pieces, like you said. You got the Twitter, Facebook.
Kind of got to know your way around the ecospace a little bit. Yeah.
And I think what a lot of business owners and marketing people tend to do in the smaller companies is like, all right, we'll just go with tried and true. We're just going to go with what we know.
Right.
Out of just almost information overload. So I try to help them through that process.
Paralysis through what is it? Paralysis through analysis?
Yeah,
Is that what
exactly.
they say? Yeah.
And also, the truth is that when you get to these smaller companies, they don't have the staffing to really tackle these issues. They're busy running their company. Some of these businesses I deal with, the person who's coming up with the stuff or the business idea or whatever the product they're selling is also kind of handling the marketing.
So you talked about bringing clients' content into the search process. I love that phrase. Kind of talk about that, flesh that out a little bit more for me.
Okay, it's really a matter of mindset. It's just helping people change their mindset to all the new platforms that are out there. Obviously, very well, YouTube, second largest search platform, search engine, and free.
Why not use it?
Exactly.
You got YouTube out there as well, helping you out with video, and that helps at search.
Yeah, and a little bit of keyword analysis, and a free platform. It's an equation that's hard to beat, especially for a small company that's trying to compete, with the big guys with a small budget. It's really kind of one of the great equalizers. So I really try, and also obviously social media, not as free, in my opinion, just because it is a lot of work. And that's why I try to educate clients about also is that, social media is free, but also not free.
I like the way you frame that. I don't think I've heard anyone else say it that way, that it is free and that the platform doesn't cost you for an account.
Yeah.
But with the time that you're going to invest to really make social media work, there is a cost associated with time.
And the last thing, it's like a website. The last thing you want is somebody to get to a website and be bummed out. The last thing you want is to go through the trouble, set up a Facebook page for your business, and be bummed out by the experience once you get there.
Exactly.
It takes all the effort to make it a rich experience.
So when you talk about search, obviously a lot of your work with some of your clients, some of these startup clients in nutraceuticals and in tech, obviously there's a lot of social media and SEO and multimedia stuff going on there. Was that part of the impetus that got you started with this Viduvi product?
Yes, it kind of all meshed together. There was a lot of stuff that I was getting into and exploring that.
Talk about that convergence process that brought you into.
I guess while I was working with smaller clients and working on getting content into the search process, one of the things that I noticed was that you have these kind of commercial strips, if you will, in between communities.
Yes, your Main Street, as they call it.
Well, I mean, it used to be Main Street, but
Right,
now it's kind of the commercial strips in between towns that have become, what they call the French Fry Alley effect.
Like 22 or
Exactly.
okay.
And you get these a concentration of big box stores. That all started in the 50s. It used to be in the 50s, or pre, location. You open up a shop on Main Street, and people walk in.
They flock to it.
Exactly. Then the big box model came along and disrupted the whole thing, and build the big box on the edge of town and fill it with amazingly cheap stuff, and people drive there. Great idea. I mean,
and so the automobile was a part of this too. There was another technology that converged there.
Exactly. So, great idea, but once that started getting replicated over and over and over again, and into hardware and electronics and grocery shopping,
Vertical to vertical.
now all of a sudden there is such a draw that is sucking so much business out of our main streets. And I noticed it, driving down, Route 10 here, which isn't too far from my house. A lot of great stores down there. But I did notice that, the big chain restaurants would have a line out the door.
Wow.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, line out the door. And we would go to our favorite little shop in Main Street in West Orange, our little Italian place, and half empty. And the food was better. I know the food's better.
Well, of course. It's authentic.
So, the next thought in my mind, being from my background, is, okay, what's the difference? Well, $130 million advertising budget versus zero advertising budget.
Right.
Obviously, that's going to have a huge effect from the hardware stores to the restaurants to everybody.
Clothier, on
Yep.
down the line. Music.
Yep. And like I said, I don't begrudge them. This is capitalistic society,
Sure.
they came up with a great solution
model that worked.
that a lot of people love, and it does some good things. It keeps prices down. It has a downward pressure on price, inflation, and that kind of stuff. So there are some good things that come with it, but I guess the way I was brought up was very civic minded. Just my parents kind of led by example on
Nice.
that. It's important to kind of step up and take your place in the fabric of society, to kind of keep it whole. And I said, okay, how can I kind of take all of the stuff that I've been involved in and start to apply that to what I care about, which is my community.
Which is the passion I saw in you that's coming out now, sure.
Yep. So, when you see the Main Street businesses and you see them having trouble.
Many of them dying.
Yeah. So it's twofold. It's the business model of the big box store, et cetera, and then you combine that with the economy. So it's a double whammy on these Main Street businesses. So I started getting my head around, okay, what can I do? The kicker is that I've done a lot of advertising for those big box stores. So in a way, I kind of felt a little responsible.
Sure.
My paycheck was coming from those guys, and from quick service restaurants to casual dining to big box stores. I've done advertising for all those.
Sure,
You know.
sure.
So I said, okay, you know, hey, let's try and use those skills and try and resolve this a little bit. And obviously, they're not going away. You know, they got a great model.
They're too embedded.
Exactly, and they serve a purpose. But my thought was, if I can take 5% of the business away and bring it back to the main street, 5%. That's huge when you think about the revenue that's flowing through those stores and the malls and chains.
You're talking almost billions of dollars.
Yeah. So that was my drive.
That was a big idea.
Yeah, that's what I want to accomplish.
Let's take 5% away from the big guys, bring it back to Main Street.
Exactly.
So how are you going to get that done?
Well,
You mentioned advertising was the big differentiator. 130
Yep.
million here, 0 here.
Yep. And there's YouTube. You know, there's all these, like I said, I mentioned before, there's great free, you know, platforms out there. YouTube obviously being the 800-pound gorilla. But for these clients, its size is almost its weakness. It's so easy to get lost in YouTube. You know, how do you get through? How
you rise above the clutter.
Yeah,
Sure.
the figures are escaping me, but I think it's something like 48 hours of video is
Per
uploaded every minute.
Yeah,
I believe it is.
That is what it is.
You know, so you're going to get buried. You can do keyword analysis. You can make it work.
There are
to a certain
there are
extent.
YouTube insights that you can pull out.
And I use those tricks of the trade, and I've been pretty successful using them.
But the average mom and pop practitioner isn't going to probably take the
Exactly.
time to learn that stuff.
Exactly. So my thought was, okay, what if we come up with a platform specifically kind of purpose-built for not just the mom and pop stores, I mean, that's where I started, but for the community as a whole. You know, because there's so much great stuff in all these communities, in South Orange, Maplewood, West Orange, that people who live in the communities don't know about. You know, from, you know, the Cody Arena to the parks, everything, the schools.
So getting the word out about all these assets within your local community.
Exactly. So it becomes a bigger story about that kind of live local mantra.
Which is really, you know, again, you're right in line with the way, you know, people are thinking these days. You know,
Yeah.
buy local, live local, shop local, that whole sort of localized movement.
Yeah. So all of these things kind of came together. The price of the, you know, camera equipment, you know, plummeting
Down, right.
You know, from 15 years ago, the image quality you can get with a DSLR
Oh, yeah, it's-
video,
yeah. Even better than
is-
some of the stuff you could have
yeah,
15 years.
at 10% of the price.
Right.
You know,
Editing tools on a Mac.
edit on a Mac. You know, no Avids needed or anything like that.
Final Cut Pro is all you need.
Yep.
Premiere maybe.
So you can get kind of 80% of the way there to a real high-end video.
For sure, you can get production value into the video.
Yes, yep.
For sure.
So that element was there. And then I just started developing, okay, if I was going to develop a platform, what would it be? And started going down this road and brainstorming with some friends of mine.
So
and
keep
stuff.
talking. We're going to cut away to the screenshot
Okay.
now of Viduvi.
Okay.
And so maybe you kind of explain the idea behind the product itself, how local and search and video all tied together for you.
Yeah, so what we did was, the solution we came up with was geolocated video. And to tie it into a map mashup, where you can literally, you can tour a town. You know, my goal is to get to the point where, right now it's a beta. You know, we have one town, we're using West Orange.
West Orange is sort of your beta.
Exactly.
And so tell us how it works.
Well, basically, you go to, there's going to be it's in development right now, a mobile app, but there'll be a mobile app for Viduvi, but more interestingly, there's going to be a mobile app for the West Orange Viduvi page, ultimately for the South Orange Viduvi page.
Each locale, sure.
The Maplewood Viduvi page, so that the town can market that app. The town can put it out there and say, hey, download our app, you know, and put it on your phone. And it's just a great tool for when somebody wants to, they have a purchase decision to make. You know, the way I express it is, when you're in that mode, you know, you got to buy a hammer, or you got to get your hair done, or you got to go to eat.
You're on a purchase path.
Exactly. One hand is on your wallet. You know, that's the magic moment. So it's the Google model. Get the relevant information to the right people at the right time, and make it video rich. It's even better. Put it on a map.
That's the kicker for me. See, the kicker for me is how you've tied the video rich piece into the whole purchase path model of Google self-selecting, hey, I need it right now, I'm on the purchase path, give it to me now.
Yep.
The genius of your product for me was that you had the vision to tie video into the search query, which is all the rage right now, which is what's driving engagement online and on mobile.
Yep. Yep. So, and there's a lot more functionality. I mean, right now, like I said, it's a beta. We have some other stuff up our sleeves.
So feel free to visit Viduvy.com.
Yeah, go to viduvy.com.
Spell Viduvy for us, please.
V as in Victor,
Yeah.
IDOOVY.
Is that like groovy video?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was trying to
used-
figure it out.
Yeah, I used a online nonsense word generator to come up with that name. So that was a fun experience.
I can imagine.
I have pages of
variations
and,
of this. So this product is actually baited in the market right now in West Orange.
Yes, yes.
And so folks are able to log on to viduvy.com.
Yep.
Click
Go to towns.
Click towns.
Yep.
And the West Orange mashup will be there.
Yes.
I'm able to click on Able Automotive, for instance.
Yep.
Go to their splash page on the map mashup.
Yep.
Right. And then go to the video.
Yeah, so it goes to there's icons with little video frame.
Right.
You mouse over, it pops up, it expands. We get a little, a little slideshow of the video to get a sense of what it's about. And it's the map. You can zoom in, you can manipulate it. It's
Google
all
Maps,
the functions
sure.
are there. And if it's something intriguing, you double click on it, and it brings you to a individual result page where there's a written description. The video's right there. You can follow them on Facebook and
So
Twitter.
a landing page.
Exactly.
To a
yeah.
landing page.
Yep. And we're real happy with it. It's been a labor of love, and
I'm excited about it as well.
Yeah.
And I believe it's going to make a big splash for local business owners around the country. And I'm excited to see how it's going to continue to roll out right here in Essex County. And I'm also looking forward to seeing that mobile version of it.
yeah.
And so when do you think that'll be coming to market?
Within a month, we should have our West Orange app done.
Mobile version?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And again, this I think I love the term permanent beta. It's like don't ever think it's done.
Hey, this is a living document. We're always adding to it.
Exactly.
I
So
get it.
there's every day you're like, what if we did this?
Very nice.
So it's
Very
exciting.
Nice. Very nice. Patrick, it's been a pleasure having you here on the Digital Strategist, learning about your journey, learning about some of the insights that you've been able to uncover throughout your journey, learning about direct ignition and how you're doing some remarkable things working with startups in the nutraceuticals and tech space, and also learning about Viduvy, this product that I think is going to reinvigorate small businesses around the country. So thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
And I look forward to having you on here again as we can talk about how many downloads you've got of this crazy app over a couple of months here.
Sounds good.
So once again, thanks for hanging out with us tonight on The Digital Strategist. I'm David Muhammad. I've had my good friend Patrick Sutherland from Direct Ignition and Viduvy here. I want to say good night to my wife Jessie, David, Naomi, and of course Madison. Love you, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Good night, folks.
Thank you.